Hi there, welcome to the shop. I'm Cale. So Regina writes and says, please do a video explaining what all the little marks on the measuring tape mean. That sounds like a good idea. Here you go, Regina. 10 tips on mastering the measuring tape. Hey, let me jump in here real quick before this video gets started. So I'm not big on sponsors. I'm not big on affiliate links or telling you where you need to buy things. Throughout this video, I'm going to make a lot of recommendations about the things that I use. So here's what I'm going to do. Down in the description, I'm going to list keywords that you can search for or look for on whatever site you like to shop at. Like if you want to find this pencil, for example, I'll tell you what it is, but I'm not going to be putting any affiliate links. So hope you find that helpful. That's it. On with the video. All right, tip number 1, finding the right tape measure for you, or the best tape measure for you. Odds are you're going to need more than one, but not all tape measures are made the same. This guy's made for 25 feet, outdoor heavy-duty construction stuff. This one's similar to that. We've got a 16-footer here that's a little lighter, a 12-footer that's even lighter, and this little 6-footer that has a clasp on the end of it so you can attach it to things. So if you're working in your backyard and you're building a deck, you might need something like this big Lufkin that can really get out there and do what you need to do. If you're working in a small garage or a shop and the biggest thing you ever measure is maybe 6 feet, then something smaller like this guy would probably be all you would need. So really, having a couple of tape measures, I would recommend probably those two. Both ends of the spectrum. So at this point in the video, you're probably thinking to yourself, this stuff's too basic for me, I'm gonna move on. And I get that, I really, really do. But let me ask you a favor first before you leave. Drop down to the comments, and for all of us that are here that are just learning about tape measures and just learning about how to make accurate marks on wood with pencils, do us all a favor, drop us a comment, and let us know the funniest, dumbest, or oddest thing that you ever messed up with measuring with a measuring tape. I suspect there'll be a lot of stories about measuring twice and cutting once, and I cut that board twice and it's still not long enough, that sort of thing. So help us out, help us all learn, drop us a comment, tell us something funny that happened to you with a tape measure. Okay, back to number 2. All right, number 2, it's all about finding the best marking tool for you. Resist the urge to use a big fat Sharpie, anything like a crayon, chalk that makes a really big line. It's just not good when you're trying to measure accurately. I like a number 7, a 0.7 or 0.9 mechanical pencil because the line weight of this is about the same thickness as the lines on a tape measure, and you'll see why that's important here in a minute. You could use a mechanical pencil that requires that you sharpen the tip, and you can get a little sharpener for these so you can keep a nice sharp tip on them. You can use these carpenter's pencils that are kind of oddly shaped. They're oddly shaped for a reason. That way they don't roll off of a roof or roll off of a workbench. Bonus tip, I like to keep mine on these little retractable woowhoos, whatever you call these whirligigs, because then I can just pull it out, make a mark, and then let it go and it stays right there. In fact, I generally keep 2 of them with me. As a third option, these mechanical pencils and these plastic holders are great because they have a sharpener built into the tip, so you can sharpen the lead when it gets dull. They have a protective case that it goes into. It's a mechanical pencil, so you can actually mechanically push it in and out. And these clips have little one-way teeth on them, so when you put them in a pocket or in something, they really hold on to that so that doesn't come out with the pencil when you want to take this out and make a mark. Bonus tip for these will also fit in these little retractable whirligig woohoo dudes. And you can hang these around your shop too, that way you have a pencil handy wherever you need it, and when you're done with it, you just let it go. So that's tip number 2, good marking instruments. All right, tip number 3, hey Cale, why does my tape measure jiggle at the end of it? A lot of people don't know the answer to that, and there's a lot of information on the internet that's wrong. The real reason is that it moves like this is so you can get an accurate measurement whether you're measuring to the inside of something or if you're hooking on something and pulling to measure something. this moves just enough to make up for the thickness of this bottom part under here. I'm gonna take you over to the workbench and prove it to you. Let's go. All right, here we go. Got a little setup here for you. So I made this little piece of wood, basically just a piece of scrap. So we've got an edge that we can hook on and an edge that we can push against. I'm gonna use the same tape measure that has that inherent little jiggle to it. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna measure 3 inches and 3 inches, and then we're gonna use a square and strike a line across those 2 marks and see how close they are. I'm just gonna lock this to make it a little easier for me. Okay, first measurement, we're going to push up against something like we're doing an inside measurement. We're going to use our 0.7 lead. Like I mentioned earlier, it tends to give me a mark that's about the same thickness as the lines on the tape measure, and that's handy. So keep that in mind for one of the tips that's coming up near the end. So we're just going to mark a line here at 5 inches, trying to be as accurate as I can be. And then we're going to move. Now we're going to hook onto the edge over here. And we're going to mark, again, 5 inches. I have really shaky hands, so accurate marking is very difficult for me. All right, now we're just going to put a square. It's a triangle, I understand, but it's called a square. We're just going to put that across here, and we're just going to draw a line. And how do we do? That looks pretty dang close. So anyway, now you know the real reason why this thing jiggles on the end. On to the next tip. All right, here we go with tip number 4. Why is there a little notch or a little groove slot in the end of the tape measure? That's there for a reason, and you'll find it on most any tape measure. It's there so you can make a measurement by yourself by putting a screw or a nail in a board, putting it over that, and then you can actually pull out the tape measure. I really don't like this tape measure. It's garbage. But like I said, they all have a slot at the end. So you can attach that to a screw or a nail, pull out, make your measurement, and you're good to go. All by your onesies. You don't even need a woodshop helper, although they're nice to have. So bonus tip for this is if you're trying to draw a circle, you can use the same thing. Take a screw or preferably a small finish nail. The narrower the diameter of your nail, the more accurate this measurement will be for you. So you put this in the center of a board, measure out 12 inches, put a pencil there and hold it with your hand. Now walk around in a circle and you've got a 24-inch diameter circle. So there you go. Now you know why there's a slot in the end of a tape measure. Let's move on. Next tip, tip number 5. Wait, we're going again? Okay, I'm ready. Let's go. Hi there, welcome across the shop. Tip number 5, why do tape measures have curves? Well, again, it's kind of based on the functionality of the tape measure. Outdoor tape measures need this a bit more than indoor tape measures, and the longer a tape measure, the more you need it. So this thing weighs like a pound. It's a tank. This thing weighs hardly nothing. What does the curve do in the tape? And what I'm talking about is that thumbnail profile on the tape measure. So what does it do? Let's find out. Here's a smaller tape. Basically, the curve is there so you can run the tape out. The curve is there so you can run the tape out and take a measurement, like if you're measuring your windows for blinds or drapes or curtains or something. And so you kind of get the point. With something like this guy, you can go, this one has a slightly bigger curve to it, and it's also quite a bit heavier duty tape measure. This one's actually designed to go all the way across your living room and take a measurement if that's what you want. Safety tip, be careful when you're drawing these up. Sometimes these are made out of aluminum, sometimes they're made out of plastic. They can be sharp, they can hurt you. Just be careful, respect all your tools. So there you go. Tip number 5, why tape measures have a curve to them. On to number 6. All right, we're past the halfway point. Tip number 6 for mastering the tape measure is something I can't believe most people don't know about. I learned this back in high school shop, and that's been a hot minute. Anyway, tip number 6 is writing on your tape measure. So let's say you're in your house and you're measuring a window for blinds. Well, you can't find a notepad. I can never find a notepad. You don't want to use your phone because I have a love-hate relationship with my phone. I don't want to use it. So what do? The answer is you write on your tape. So you go to your window, you measure the width of your window. It comes back at 36 inches, for example. So right on your tape, I'll take you over to the bench and zoom in close and show you what I'm talking about. But you can take your pencil and you can take your inside measurement or your outside measurement of your window casing, on the wall. And then when you know it's 36 and a half, just come over to 36 and a half and right on your tape measure, draw a little arrow, or better yet, draw an I or a W for width or whatever works for you. Then you take a measurement the other way, and let's say it's taller, let's say it's 46 inches. At the 46-inch mark, you just write on there, that's the length, or L, on your tape measure. Now you can go inside, finish ordering your blinds, and when you're done, take an eraser and whoop, whoop, comes right off. Let's go over to the bench, I'll show you what I'm talking about. All right, here we go. We got our tape measure. I'm just gonna pull it out and lock it, drop it in there so it's in the frame. I've got my 0.7 millimeter mechanical pencil. So let's say you're measuring something, a picture frame. You need to get a new piece of glass for a picture frame. So you measure your picture frame and you know that it's 9 1/4 inches. And we're gonna get into that in a minute. 9 1/4 inches. So here's 9 1/16, 9 1/8, 9 3/16, and 9 1/4. So right here on 9 1/4, you can just take your pencil and just draw a little arrow on it. You can even write notes and say left. Nobody can read my handwriting, so don't worry about it. Anyway, take all your measurements, record what you need to record, and then when you're done, you can just take a pencil and it erases right off of there. Tip number 6, writing on your tape measure. All right, here we go. Tip number 7, understanding the lines on the tape measure. So some things to be aware of with tape measures are that they're sold in different scales. Some are in 1/16 of an inch, like you see there. Some are in 1/8 of an inch, which are a little easier to read, but less accurate. Some are in 30/2 of an inch. Some are in, so there's 30/2 of an inch. I'll zoom in on that so you can see what it looks like. Pretty busy, but more accurate. So rule number 1 to keep in mind when looking at buying a tape measure or using a tape measure is understanding what scale is it in. So the scale you see there is 1/16, which means every little hash mark on the tape measure reads a 1/16 of an inch. So to break that down, I would recommend that you start with whole numbers. In our case, in this scale, we've got 0 and 1, and they represent the longest lines on the tape measure. And that is generally a standard across all tape measures. The longest lines are your whole numbers. The next longest lines are half numbers. The next longest lines after that are quarter, and such and so forth. Anyway, so to read this particular scale here in 1/16, I would recommend, well, here's my first recommendation. You'll find tape measures out there that are digital that'll tell you what's on the screen. You'll find tape measures that actually have the indication on them. They'll actually have 1/16, 1/8, quarter, 3/16, 3/8, all those measurements. They'll actually have those written out on the tape measure. I would not recommend those. Why? Because you're never going to learn how to read a tape measure if everything you need is there. Now, some people might argue that why not make it easier? And to that point, I would say I agree. So if you have a tape measure that reads in 30/2 of an inch, I would not recommend using that for woodworking, especially if you're just starting out. If you're just starting out, 1/16 of an inch is more than enough accuracy for what you can do with wood. Now, the better you get with marking and using your tools and cutting wood and joining pieces of wood together, the more accurate you'll get. And at that point, by then you'll probably have 25 tape measures, and one of them is probably going to be in 30/2 of an inch. So some of the things to keep in mind when you're looking at making marks on a tape measure is understanding their decimal equivalents. I realize this is a very tiny ruler, and I'll put a photo of it up on the screen if this is just not good enough to view. Anyway, having a quick reference like this in your pocket tells you the decimal equivalent of things that you see on your tape measure. Sometimes that's handy if you're plugging it into a calculator on your phone to figure out what 3/8 plus 3/8 is. So understanding that the decimal equivalent of 3/8 is 0.375, you can more easily do the math on your phone. Anyway, having a scale like this in your apron pocket is pretty handy. You can also find PDF files that you can download. I'll put one in the description for you that you can print out. You can buy laminated cards from online sources, and I would recommend you have one of those thumbtacked up to the wall wherever you're working. It's just a quick reference. Makes it real easy for you to more quickly understand the tape measure that you have. So, and if all of this math and all of these fractions leaves you feeling a little boop, boop, dazed and confused, then use metric. Nothing wrong with that. People make the comment that why not use a digital tape measure? It makes things as easy as possible. Well, I would argue that using a metric tape measure makes things as easy as they can be. Now, case in point, that's why this little guy is my absolute favorite tape measure. I have them all over the shop, all over the inside of my house. I have them on my apron. And why? One, they're cheap. They're like $5 a piece. You have to go where you can buy Milwaukee tools, wherever that is for you. They're cheap. They're small. They have this little clasp that makes it easy for me to hang it next to my tools. They have a really nice locking mechanism that stays when you lock it. And it's in both imperial measurements and metric. So it has both. You can use whichever you prefer. So if I'm doing like larger projects like picture frames, tables, things that are over a foot or a couple of feet, I generally tend to use the imperial side if I'm cutting down sheet goods or cross-cutting hardwoods to build things. If I'm doing things that require more precision, let's say I'm laying out a scale like this for you so I can cut it on my laser engraver, I tend to use the metric system. And it's just as easy to read when you're looking at it on a tape measure like this. So my advice is try to pick up a tape that has both metric and imperial measurements on it. Try to pick up a tape that reads in 1/16 of an inch and no finer resolution than that. You'll just find it hard to read all those little hash marks. And there you have it. There's what the lines on a tape measure mean. There's how to understand them and break them down, and some tips and tricks for if fractions make your brain hurt, you can use the metric system. Tip number 8 is burning an inch. That's what they call it anyway. So if you ever have a tape measure, I happen to have a really good example here. This is this tape measure that I don't like. It has this adjustable brake on it for holding it out. Works great if you're holding it, but if you sit it on the counter, it's so heavy, it leans on the pedal and draws back. It's a horrible tape measure. But it's a good example of this because it's all ganked up on the end there. That wouldn't be very good for taking a measurement. I mean, this thing might as well be really bent up. Anyway, what does burning an inch mean? Burning an inch means laying out your tape measure, and because the end of your tape is all ganked up, start at the 1 inch mark. Lay that at the edge of whatever you're measuring. Whoop. Something like that. Measure out to where you need to be, subtract an inch for obvious reasons, and there you go. It's called burning an inch. It's good to have when you have ganked up tape measures like this one. That's it. On to mastering the tape. Tip number 9. Here we go. Tip number 9, almost done with our list of 10 tips and tricks for mastering the tape measure. Tip number 9 is avoiding the parallax. What do I mean by that? I mean, how good's your eye? Your shooting eye, your hunting eye, or your strong eye, or whatever they call it. So when you're looking at a tape measure, I'm going to do this with wood because it's too hard to do filming straight down. When you're looking at your tape measure, don't have your tape measure over here and your eye over here while you're trying to mark something with your pencil. Your two eyes come together in a focal point and create a parallax, which is to say your eyes don't see this, they see this. But if you draw a line here and then go cut it, it's going to be wrong. And odds are it's going to be too short if your luck's anything like mine in the wood shop. So avoiding parallax means make sure that your tape measure is right in front of your eyes. If you don't know which one of your eyes is your strong eye, there's some tips and tricks you could do. You can go like this and look across the room and put something inside that circle. Now close one eye, and is that thing still inside the circle? If not, close the other eye. Is that thing still inside the circle? Whichever one is still inside the circle, that's your dominant eye. That's the one that you see best with for taking measurements. If you've been to the shooting range or you've shot weapons or you're good with things like that, you probably learned how to shoot with both eyes open. That's really good because you've taught yourself how to focus both eyes on the same item. So make sure that you're directly above what you want to measure. Make sure you're looking straight down on it, and make sure that you're using your dominant eye when you make a mark on your wood to avoid parallax, because this will always mess up what you're cutting, usually on the most expensive pieces of wood. So that's it. We're on to number 10. Last one. Let's do this. All right, here we go. Last tip. Tip number 10. How to increase the accuracy of your markings with 2 lines instead of 1. Let me show you what I mean. So let's say we want to mark this board at 10 inches. So one of the things you could do, this is something that new folks may do, is they'll come in here and they'll go like this. Well, that's 10 inches. Yeah, I want to be able to see that line. So, okay, there we go, that's 10 inches. So now, when you want to mark that with something like a square to be able to cut it, where are you going to actually put that line? Where is 10 inches? Is it here? 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 See what I mean? This line is just way too wide. This is why using fat Sharpies and stuff like that just doesn't work. So another thing that folks might do is they'll come in and they're a little more experienced with a tape measure and a pencil. So they'll come in here and they'll make a small line like that. That's good. That works. That kind of allows you to really sneak up on it and get, know where you want to strike that line. So now let me show you how you can use 2 lines to make a more accurate mark. I'm working at an angle here, so this may not be perfect, but I'll do the best I can. So what do I mean by 2 lines? Let's say you get your tape to 10 inches like that. What you do is you come up here and put your pencil right on the 10 and then shoot out that direction. And you can kind of figure out if you're, like I think I'm a little left of the 10 there. So I come back over here and I'll make my second mark like that. Now I know. So what I can do is I can look at this and I can see that I'm ever so slightly just a little left of the 10. So when it comes to putting down your square, now you can get right to the tip of that V and strike your line. Another tip that you can do is to put your pencil right on the mark where you want to be. I'm trying to do this and stay out of the camera's way. Put the pencil right where you want your line to be. Slide your square over until it touches the pencil. Now you can strike a line, and that is tip number 10, how to be more accurate with your marking by using 2 lines instead of 1. All right, so thanks for hanging out with me this long in the shop. I really appreciate it. I've been where you are before. I've struggled with learning to do things repeatedly, especially marking lines. To this day, I still cut things in the wrong place. It's going to happen to you. Don't let it get you down. You just got to keep going. So here we go with the bonus tip for our 10 tips for mastering the tape measure. And Regina, I hope you found this video helpful. I'd love to send you a Dansby Designs t-shirt. And thank you for being the featured reason for this particular video. So if I can figure out how to get in touch with this particular viewer, I'll get a t-shirt out to her. If you'd like your chance for a free Dansby Designs t-shirt, drop a comment. If your comment's featured in a video, I'm happy to make touch base with you and get a t-shirt out to you. So here we go, bonus tip. I own probably, no exaggeration, 100 tape measures. Why? Because they're like socks. They seem to get lost. No matter how small your shop is, they get lost. So here's my bonus tip. Attach them to something. I have these tape measures, these little 6-foot tape measures with this lanyard, this clasp. I have these attached near almost every tool in my shop. They're helpful because I can't walk off with them, although I do. I've been known to actually take the screw out, walk away with the tape measure and lose it. So it's not perfect, but I have one of these on my apron. And when they're attached and you're working around the shop or you're taking measurements, it's actually super simple to just grab the tape, pull out a long piece of it, measure what you need to measure, and when you're done, just let it go. And then it's right there every time you need it. Anytime you need to take a measurement, it's always there. Just get in a habit of not holding the tape, but instead, the tape body, but instead grab the tape, pull out a length of it, measure what you need to measure, and then just let it go. And then it's always there when you need it, along with some pencils, which is why I also recommend these whirly-gig woowho things. hanging near every tool. So if you have these hanging near each one of your tools, odds are you've got what you need in order to make a measurement, make a good mark, make a cut, and make some sawdust. So anyway, that's it. That's all I've got for you today. So thanks for hanging out with me in the shop again. I really appreciate it. I hope you learned something from this. If you did, I'd love for you to drop me a comment. Let me know. Share a funny experience you had with a tape measure. Tell me something I got wrong. Share something with me I didn't list about a tape measure. Whatever you think is beneficial to the group. Everybody learns when you leave a comment. So that's it for me, friends. Until next time, peace, love, and sawdust. I'm out.